Hi everyone, Philippa here. I think I mentioned yesterday that I was going to try and go live again today because I had a few more thoughts to share on strengths. And this doesn't really come from me, these are just my musings on things that I've read. So please don't shoot the messenger. I hope you all are having a good day. We're having a really quiet day at home today because now I have two little munchkins who are unwell. So they're having a really quiet day at home with Mummy, and one of them has commandeered the room that I would usually do my videos from, so I'm in a different spot today with a very boring backdrop. But anyway, I digress. So going back to the same book that I mentioned in my last live, I think that was that Friday or Saturday? A few days ago. We were talking about strengths and this idea that maybe instead of getting super focused on where we know our weaknesses lie in order to work really, really, really hard on them to improve them, that maybe our energy is actually better spent in identifying our areas of strength and, as Gary Vee would say, triple down on our strengths, right? So we talked about that a little bit, and I gave you a couple of quotes from this great book that I'm reading. And it's kind of comes back to concepts that I grew up with. I don't know about you, but I was taught growing up that we're all given talents of our own. I'm sorry this is so wobbly. It's because I've got it propped up against my knee. I have to figure out a better way to do that in the future. Let me see if I can get that a little bit more stable. Yeah, I was always taught that we're all equipped with talents that God has given us and that we have a responsibility to develop those, right? But I think one of the problems when we're taught this as young people is that we're trying to discover those things, if you like, in a kind of macro way. And so we think, oh, well, I'm good at playing the flute, or, well, I'm pretty decent at netball, or, soccer, or whatever. And we think about these kind of macro skills. And I guess for some people that's useful. Maybe, some people go on to play pro sports, and some people go on to play in the National Symphony Orchestra or to compose, at least partly for a living. It's hard to make a proper living here in New Zealand as a composer, probably anywhere as primarily a composer, but some people do it. And I think there's a point in our lives where we might have to actually sort of try and hone it down a little bit further, bring our focus in a bit more, and look more in a micro sort of way at where our strengths lie. Because even if we are thinking about our sort of macro skills, we're still going to have mini strengths, if you like, within those areas. Does that make sense? Add a comment below. Let me know whether this is making sense or whether I'm sounding completely off the planet today. Anyway, so back in this book that I've been reading by Cami Dempsey and Denise Walsh, there's a really useful exercise that they outline, and I'm thinking, I don't remember doing this as a teenager or in my early 20s. Maybe I did. Maybe I just didn't do a good enough job of it to really have honed in on things properly. I think this is a really great exercise to take anybody through. So no matter where you are heading in your life, even if you're well established in a career, I still think this is a really great exercise to do. So I'll give you the name of the book again later. But the gist of it is, again, that you're going to analyze yourself to see if you can work out where your God-given strengths lie. And I will add, they make a good point here that we might make a list of what we perceive to be our strengths, but we are going to have to kind of weed a few things out of that list, because it's important to remember that, and I quote, if you don't enjoy it, you won't produce the most quality work you're capable of producing. A skill may be an area where you're capable of performing above average work, but a strength is an area where you consistently perform excellent work and enjoy doing so. And I think that is an important point to bear in mind. Anyway, moving on. So they suggest that you make a list of everything that you consider yourself to be above average at. Which does, as my husband pointed out, wait, that means you have to compare. I was asking him for help, and my husband does not like it when I ask him to compare me with anybody. I guess he's learnt from experience in his, I don't know, his dating past or whatever, that you just can't go there. You can't ever compare your lady with anybody else in any realm. Just don't go there. So that threw up alarm bells for him, and he refused to help me with this list. So I had to do it all myself. If you go ahead and do this, I'd love to know, do you manage to make the whole list by yourself, or have you managed to enlist some help, and was that useful? So you make a list of things that you think might be your strengths, so things that you think you're quite good at, and you want to consider all areas of your life. So not just in terms of the sort of work that you're doing now, or if you're still in school, not just in terms of maybe your best subjects at school or that kind of thing. Consider all areas of your life, not just what you do at your job, even if it's something that you think is a totally insignificant skill, or you can't see right now how that would ever be useful in your life in the future, in any kind of professional capacity or anything really useful, right? Even if you can't see the value in it right now, write it down. If it's something that you're better than average at, write it down and challenge yourself to come up with a list of at least 10 things. It's really tempting to write a list of perhaps 3, but I'm telling you, you need to get past the number 3, or even the number 5. You need to get to 10. Because it's easy for us to rattle off a couple of things, but if we let ourselves off the hook there, we're not necessarily going to hit the jackpot, if you like, on what we really need to be honing in on. So you kind of need to delve a little deeper, you need to drill down a little bit more and get to at least 10. I wasn't sure I was going to manage that at first, which was why I tried asking my husband for help, but he was no use, so I had to finish it on my own. Right, so as I said before, they could be small, insignificant things. It might be, I can touch type. It might be, well, I can make small talk. I know that won't be on the list for everybody. Or, well, I enjoy taking photographs, and I'm quite good at finding the right lighting, or just whatever it is. Write a list of at least 10. I want to know, because I'm challenging all of you who do actually watch this. I'm challenging you to try it. It only has to take a few minutes. So do it. Write the list, and then I want to know later how many you got to. Now, of course, me being me, the book challenged me to write at least 10, and I wrote down 11. I think that says something about me right there. I didn't, but I was proud of myself for not stopping at about 5. I was proud of myself for getting the full 10. Okay, so once you've got your list, you want to look over it, and there are a few questions that you want to ask yourself about each item on the list. First of all, does time fly when I am exercising this skill or strength, or when I'm doing this thing? And this comes down to, I was excited to read that question, because this comes down to something that I studied in postgrad at university, whether or not when you do this thing, you can achieve a state of flow. There's a great book on this by a man with a totally unpronounceable name, Csikszentmihalyi, I think, that we read in postgrad. But it really just boils down to, yes, does time fly when you're doing this thing? Because if it does, chances are you've really enjoyed yourself and you have excelled at the same time, at least for your level. Secondly, is it a skill that you look forward to using? Does using the skill make me feel energized and excited? Does it come easily to me? would I enjoy what I'm doing more if I got to use this skill on a regular basis? And they're suggesting that if you answer yes to 3 or more of those questions, congratulations, put a star next to it, you've identified one of your strengths, right? Anything that doesn't tick at least 3 of those, that was 5 boxes, may not really be a strength of yours. So those are really key questions to ask, because it's going to weed out things that you think or know that you're good at, but that perhaps actually don't do a whole lot for you, for your heart. You know, because sometimes you can be quite good at something, but not really enjoy it that much. And sometimes it's those things that we're good at, but that we don't really love, that other people are suggesting we should be utilizing. So it's good to check in with yourself. We can use other people's opinions as a useful guide, but you still have to check in with you. Your opinion is important. So anyway, that is the basic exercise. And then they suggest that you go on and intentionally try to work those skills or strengths into what you're doing to get a little sort of feedback from yourself, if you like. So you can identify whether those are indeed the strengths that you should keep working to improve and build on. Are they going to help build your self-esteem and your business or work or whatever it is that you're doing at the moment or endeavouring towards? So Marcus Buckingham, the author of Now Discover Your Strengths, advises readers to write down the activities you engage in on a daily basis and make a note of whether they energize you or drain you. Because as he says, a better definition of strength is an activity that makes you feel strong. And a weakness is an activity that makes you feel weak. Case in point, back when I was flying, I really loved the idea of flying and I loved the idea of being a pilot. And the first part of the course was really great for me because we were getting all the academics out of the way, and I was good at academics, so I could pass those exams no trouble because I had study skills, right? And I had a brain that could take on board information. So that part was easy for me, and I definitely had a strength there. When it came to actually being in the cockpit, I could tell that there were other people on the course that were stronger there than I was, because they were able to physically pick up the kinetic skills involved in flying a plane more quickly than I could. So if I'd continued on with that, I would have had to have dealt with that, because you've got to pick those things up one way or another, and I would have found a way to do that. But definitely my academic strengths there served me well in the first part of that. So anyway, that's what I wanted to share with you on strengths today. It's actually a really fun exercise, kind of daunting to begin with if you think, whoa, I have to write down 10 things. 10 things, I don't know if I can get that far. But you can. You can. I really do think you can. Just dig a little deeper and drill down a little further, and be prepared to write something down, even if it seems tiny and insignificant, because later you can go back and analyze what are the ways that I can incorporate this into what I'm doing or into what I want to do. And that's a really key step, and maybe we should talk about that later. I don't know. Let me know. Pop a comment down in the comments. Yes, pop a line down in the comments. If you like this, please hit like so I know. If you really, really like it, maybe you'd like to share, because maybe it'll be useful for somebody that you know. And again, the book is Retire Your Husband by Cami Dempsey and Denise Walsh, and I got my copy from bookdepository.com very affordably, and yeah, highly recommended. Just doesn't really matter what sort of sector you work in. I think there are nuggets in here for everyone. So thanks for watching. I'd love to hear your feedback, and I will catch you all later. Bye for now.